Katt Williams showing up at Kevin Hart's Netflix roast might have looked like a reconciliation to their decade-long feud, but now reports are coming out claiming Katt verbally attacked Kevin, even worse than what viewers saw on stage, and security had to step in during the chaos. On the night of May 10, 2026, Netflix streamed the roast of Kevin Hart live from the Kia Forum in Englewood, California, as part of Netflix as a Joke Fizz 2026. Shane Gillis hosted the event. The Dece was packed. Tom Brady, Dwayne Johnson, Serena Williams, Lizzo, Chelsea Handler, Pete Davidson, Draymond Green, Jeff Ross. It was a who's who of celebrity culture. Kevin Hart, the man who had served as roast host for Tom Brady's Netflix special 2 years earlier, was finally in the hot seat himself. The night opened with Tom Brady walking out to present Hart with a custom Knicks jersey, immediately signaling that nobody will be taking it easy on him. Usher performed a rendition of Let It Burn, dedicated to Hart. Roast after roast piled on. Kevin took every punch, every joke, every career jab. He sat in his chair and laughed through it all. And then more than 2 hours into the special, something happened that nobody in that arena expected. Actress Regina Hall surprised the audience by bringing out Katt Williams. The room went quiet. Then it erupted, donning a black hat and a long black trench-like leather cape. Katt Williams, the same man who had spent the last decade calling Kevin Hart a fraud, walked onto that stage with the energy of someone who had waited years for this exact moment. And Kevin Hart's face said everything, because this wasn't just another celebrity roast. This was two men standing face-to-face with a decade of accusations, insults, and unresolved hostility between them, broadcasting live to millions of people around the world. Williams' appearance was especially unexpected given the pair's very public tension in 2024 when Williams went viral for criticizing Hart and questioning his rapid rise in Hollywood, at one point referring to him as an industry plant. The tension backstage was already palpable. Jeff Ross confirmed that the move was Hart's idea aimed at creating memorable TV through real discomfort. Hart wanted Williams there. He wanted the audience to feel it. He wanted the danger. And Katt Williams delivered. The moment Katt grabbed the microphone, he didn't ease anyone into it. He went straight for the throat. "I'm surprised they invited me. That's how little star power you have. They had to start inviting your enemies." And then addressing the audience watching at home, he added, "For the people at home, you're wondering why is the Katt Man doing this? For the money, BH. This is my weird comedy festival. Only one with a soul." A direct shot at Hart for participating in the controversial 2025 Saudi Arabian government-sponsored comedy festival that was criticized by organizations like Human Rights Watch due to the country's suppression of free speech. This was not a man who came to play nice. This was a man who came to war and sponsored comedy festival that was criticized by organizations like Human Rights Watch due to the country's suppression of free speech. This was not a man who came to play nice. This was a man who came to war. To understand what was happening on that stage, you have to go back over a decade to when this powder keg first had its fuse lit. The feud between Kevin Hart and Katt Williams dates all the way back to 2014. At that point, both comedians occupied a particular lane in the comedy world. Short, high-energy black men who commanded stages with physicality and volume. But there was one critical difference. Katt Williams had been around longer. He was the original. He was known as the original high-energy short black guy who overacted on stage and made big faces. That was his brand, his identity, his throne. And then Kevin Hart came along and the comparisons were immediate. Both were short. Both were high energy. And Kevin Hart had something that Katt Williams didn't. An appetite for Hollywood that was absolutely bottomless. Kevin Hart said yes to every role that Katt would say no to. And in doing so, he built a career that eclipsed Williams in terms of commercial reach. While Katt was choosing projects based on artistic integrity, or at least claiming to, Kevin was stacking blockbusters. Ride Along, Think Like a Man, Central Intelligence, Jumanji. The numbers didn't lie. And for Katt Williams, watching someone he viewed as a lesser talent rise above him in the industry wasn't something he was willing to stay quiet about. In August 2014, Williams was asked by TMZ Sports who he thought was the funniest athlete, and his answer pivoted into a shot at Hart. "I want my __ back," referring to Kevin as someone who had been taken from him like a protege gone rogue. That one line set the table for everything that followed. Kevin and Katt's tension first became public in 2014 when Katt started making passive-aggressive comments and jokes about comedians joining the Hollywood machine. Kevin was appearing in films like Ride Along, About Last Night, Think Like a Man 2, and Top 5, at the time, as his cinematic career hit. Full stride by 2016, the passive aggression had turned into open hostility. Williams took another dig at Hart during his conspiracy theory comedy tour in Atlanta, Georgia. When he called Hart a Hollywood puppet, that phrase puppet will become the central accusation of the entire feud. It implied that Kevin Hart was not an organic talent, that his career had been manufactured, that powerful people in Hollywood were pulling his strings, and in the world of stand-up comedy, where authenticity is a currency, being called a puppet is about the worst thing you can hear. Hart, for his part, did not respond directly. Instead, he posted a photo of himself with Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, talking about how true professionals show respect and build each other up. The message was clear. Kevin Hart saw himself as belonging to the same class off right there, staying as one of those simmering rivalries that comedians occasionally reference on stage. But in 2018, Katt Williams decided to pour gasoline on the fire. And this time, he dragged an innocent bystander into the blaze. Katt Williams appeared on V103's Frank and Wonder show in September 2018 and questioned whether Tiffany Haddish had proven herself as a comedian, claiming she had not demonstrated the ability to perform for an hour. He cast doubt on her talent, her credentials, her right to be where she was. It was a deeply personal attack on a woman who had just experienced a career-making year following Girls Trip. And it put Kevin Hart in a position where he had to respond because Tiffany Haddish was his co-star in the upcoming film Night School. Kevin Hart, mid-press run for Night School, appeared on Power 105, One's A Breakfast Club, and delivered a direct response. And this is where it went from industry gossip to full-blown war. You had the shot. You were the guy. You were set up to be the star. You did not show up to work. Hart declared on air. He was not whispering anymore. He was not being subtle. He was stating in plain terms that Katt Williams had the same opportunities, maybe even more, and squandered every last one of them. Hart pressed further, arguing that Williams kept pointing at Hollywood and the industry, rather than accepting personal responsibility. And then he dropped a line that would follow Katt Williams for years, one that cut so deep the audience on The Breakfast Club visibly reacted. Hart also challenged Williams on mentorship, asking whether he had ever used his platform to lift up the people beneath him, and answered his own question with a firm no. What made Hart's response so devastating was that it wasn't just talk. It carried weight because of the context surrounding Katt Williams' career. Because while Kevin Hart was building an empire, Katt Williams was building a rap sheet. Katt Williams has faced legal issues throughout his career, including 19 felony charges. The number of times law enforcement had to deal with this man is staggering. A survey of internet news reports suggests that Williams has been arrested 17 times during his career. Though in a recent Club Shaw interview, Williams claims he has gone to jail a total of 30 times. In November 2006, Williams was arrested at Los Angeles International Airport after a gun that had been reported stolen was found in his briefcase. In 2010, he was accused of stealing $3,500 worth of coins and jewelry while working on a film set. Then came the stretch that nearly ended his entire career. During one particularly unfortunate stretch in late 2012, Williams was arrested 5 times in 2 months on charges that included allegedly beating an 18-year-old with a bottle on his tour bus, attacking a family outside a sports bar, and child endangerment, after authorities found guns and drugs at his home. He was slapped with bench warrant for leading Sacramento police on a chase while riding a 3-wheel motorcycle. At one point in November 2012, he even jumped off the stage to confront a heckler during a performance in Denver. His live shows were spiraling. His personal life was in chaos. He announced the end of his stand-up comedy career. However, 3 days later, he announced he would not retire. It was a revolving door of destruction and denial. And for Kevin Hart, all of this served as ammunition. The argument was brutally simple. Why should the comedy world listen to a man who can't even keep himself out of jail? But Katt Williams is not the kind of man who stays silent when someone questions his legacy. He's the kind of man who waits, sometimes years, and then detonates. On January 3, 2024, Katt Williams sat down with Shannon Sharpe on the Club Shaw podcast and changed the trajectory of the entire entertainment industry. In a nearly 3-hour interview, he delivered a scorched-earth critique of Hart's career, labeling him a manufactured star. The interview was not a casual conversation. It was a calculated demolition. Katt Williams arrived with receipts, with dates, with names, and with the unwavering confidence of a man who believed he had been wronged by an entire system. No one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show, there being a line for him, ever getting a standing ovation at any comedy club. Katt alleged he then went further. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to L.A.? And in his first year in L.A., he had his own sitcom on network TV and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading. No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. What do you think a plant is? The word plant landed like a bomb. It reframed everything the public thought they knew about Kevin Hart. If Williams was right, if Hart's rise was manufactured, if his deals were prearranged, if the industry had anointed him before he'd even proven himself on the circuit, then Hart's entire narrative of being a self-made man was a lie. And in the court of public opinion, that's a death sentence. The interview now has over 40 million views. Williams also claimed that for 5 years, every film Hart made had previously been offered to him, and he had passed each one for content reasons. He discussed the Illuminati Diddy, parties, his choice to fund his own projects, joke theft by other comedians, and more. It was a panoramic takedown of the comedy establishment, and Kevin Hart was standing dead center in the crosshairs. Hart's response was measured and telling. Hart's reply to Fox 5 was 7 words. You don't entertain the circus, you watch it. He simultaneously used a moment to post a trailer for his upcoming Netflix film Lift, Turning. Williams' viral attack into free promotion. On social media, Kevin wrote via X in early 2024, "Got to get that anger up, out your champ. It's honestly sad." It was a masterclass in deflection, acknowledging the noise without engaging with the substance. But behind the calm public face, the wound had been reopened, and both men knew that this wasn't going to end with tweets and podcast clips. Coming. The question was simply where and when. The Club Shay Shaw interview didn't just revive the feud. It catalyzed a career revival for Katt Williams. Suddenly, Katt Williams wasn't the troubled comedian with the arrest record. He was a truth teller, the whistleblower, the man who had nothing to lose and everything to say. On May 4th, 2024, Katt Williams, Woke Folk, streamed live from Los Angeles. As part of Netflix's A Joke Festival, his 13th stand-up comedy special. The comeback was real, and Kevin Hart watched all of it happen. He watched Williams' popularity surge. He watched the plant narrative embed itself in the culture. He watched fans debate his legacy in comment sections, on podcasts, in barbershops, and then he made a decision that shocked everyone around him. He invited Katt Williams to his own roast. Jeff Ross said Hart personally pushed for Williams' inclusion, believing discomfort would make compelling live television. Think about that for a moment. Kevin Hart, the man who'd been called a puppet, a plant, and a fraud, personally insisted that the same man who humiliated him be given a platform to do it again on his own show, in front of his own audience, on live television. It was either the bravest or the most reckless decision of his career. Regina Hall introduced Williams, 54, as a surprise comedian, more than 2 hours into the roast in honor of Hart. The audience had no idea what was about to happen. The energy in the Kia Forum shifted the moment Williams appeared in that black leather cape. When Katt Williams stepped onto the stage of the Kia Forum, the room immediately understood the weight of the moment. This was not just comedy. This was a confrontation that had been building for 12 years. And Katt Williams did not hold back. He went at Hart with surgical precision, referencing every accusation he had ever made. For those of you just joining us, Kevin and I have beef, and I'll tell you why. Because privately, this mother-of-all stole everything from me. Before he saw my act, he was a 6-foot man. The crowd roared. I tried to tell you all that Kevin Hart was a plant because I keep burying him. He keeps springing back the F up just like a plant. Every punchline was a weapon. Every joke carried the weight of a grievance nursed over more than a decade. Kevin, you're going to hear some things tonight that you're not familiar with. Those things are called punchlines. He took shots at the industry. Is this dance the best that the industry could put together? I'm not sure if the Illuminati is real or if this is a junior varsity version. He even addressed the puppet accusation directly, saying the head of Netflix literally has his whole hand up Kevin's ass and can make him do anything. The retraction was itself an attack. Hart, who sat on stage during Williams' set, took every hit. He didn't flinch. He didn't walk off. He didn't signal for security. He sat and he watched a man dismantle his reputation on live television. And then he did something that nobody saw coming. After the comedian ended his appearance, Hart addressed the tension between them heading. Me and this man have been at odds for years on years. You coming out here, quite the effing surprise. But Katt, I can sit. I can watch you. I can laugh because I'm a AFIing fan first. Katt, we have an opportunity in real time. This is live television to put our thing beef behind us. I am offering you an olive branch of peace. I want to be a brother. I want to be a friend. Katt, I want to move on. Can we move on? And then he asked a question, the one that silenced the entire arena. When Hart offered the olive branch, Williams did not deliver a long speech in return. Instead, he accepted a handshake and hugged silently, letting the physical gesture confirm the end of the hostilities before leaving the stage. Some saw it as genuine peace. Others saw it as a strategic retreat. One commentator noted, he just very quickly was like, you know what? I'm going to shake your hand, but I have not been paid to be here any more than I was. And he just walks off the stage. He didn't even acknowledge what Kevin was saying. And yet, Hart pressed forward. During his own closing set, he went right back at Williams with the same comedic fire. Katt said tonight that I took all his movies that he turned down. All right, let's unpack it. Katt, you're telling me you turned down Jumanji 123 Ride Along 1. 2. Central Intelligence. Think Like a Man. 2. The Upside. About Last Night. Me Time. Borderlands. Man from Toronto. So you could do a cameo in Norbit. What the FK are you telling me? Katt, you can't be in my effing movies. You think they want a thing pimp in Jumanji? The crowd erupted. It was a closing argument, and then Hart sealed it. It's not good for all these white people to see two black people fighting. We're too small to have the beef that we had. So, Katt, it's over. The beef is over between me and Katt. And on a serious note, I love the fact that that man showed up tonight. He showed out. So, is the beef really over? Here's the thing about this moment. It was undeniably one of the most significant events in modern comedy history. Social media exploded immediately following the broadcast. Fans noted the irony that a roast, a show designed for insult, became the venue for healing. The event hit 13.5 million viewers in 1 week on Netflix. Everyone had an opinion, but not everyone agreed on what actually happened. Some saw it as a genuine reconciliation. Two men tired of fighting, choosing peace on the biggest stage imaginable. Kevin Hart's olive branch was sincere. The handshake was real. The hug was real. The beef, they say, is genuinely finished. But others aren't so sure. One commentator observed, I don't look at this and go, those people have squashed it and they will never sort of be beefing ever again because there were signs even in the moment of supposed peace that not everything was as clean as it appeared. Okay, I'm out. There was no warmth in the comedy. No love underneath the jokes in a roast. Typically, the roasters end with something like, we do it because we love you. Katt didn't even do that at the end of his set. It was just brutal comedy, a handshake, and an exit. And then there's a matter of Hart later admitting that the handshake was pure performance, reigniting. Speculation about their unresolved feud. Was the whole thing staged? Was it a business decision on both sides? Williams getting paid and getting exposure? Hart getting a viral moment and a ratings boost? The entertainment industry often rewards division because conflict generates attention faster than peace ever will. What we know for certain is this. Their feud, which has included accusations, public insults, and disagreements over careers and industry favoritism, became one of the defining rivalries in stand-up comedy over the past decade. The attack on that stage was not physical, but it was vicious, deeply personal, and delivered with a kind of precision that only comes from years of resentment. Katt Williams walked onto Kevin Hart's stage and said everything he'd been wanting to say for 12 years. Security didn't rush in because someone threw a punch. They rushed in because the situation was volatile in a way that no one could predict. Two men with a history of genuine hostility standing feet apart on live television with the whole world watching. Hart later revealed on Carmelo Anonymous 700 p.m. in Brooklyn podcast that the two had privately spoken and started moving toward a better place before the roast even happened. So perhaps the seeds of reconciliation were planted before that stage was ever set. Perhaps the roast was just a public ceremony for a private truce. Or perhaps, as the skeptics believe, this was just another chapter in a feud that has no real ending, only intermissions. Either way, when Katt Williams walked onto that stage on May 10, 2026, he didn't just roast Kevin Hart. He forced the entire comedy world to reckon with a decade of buried grievances, unanswered accusations, and a rivalry that exposed everything uncomfortable about how the entertainment industry creates, promotes, and protects its stars. And whether the beef is truly over or not, one thing is undeniable. That night at the Kia Forum will be talked about for